So the front's single family, but the back's RM2. And the accessory structures have a 5-foot setback. So you can't see it in the zoning picture there. But let's go to Justin's exhibit, or maybe I didn't put it in there. I guess I didn't, sorry. I didn't put, okay. Yeah, I didn't put the zoning exhibit on the slide, that's my fault. Yeah, slide one up there for them. But let me explain what the variance request is, because it's pretty straightforward. There is a garage back there. I'm looking right here, I guess I put it on that slide. Yeah, so there's a garage back there in the back corner of the property that's been there for several years, and it doesn't meet the setback. It sits right on the property line to the rear and is right about on the line to the side. And the property owner simply wants to put a carport on the front of this garage to park an RV underneath it. It's not just going to be a metal carport, it's going to be a decorative carport to match the architecture of his building and his garage. He just wants to bring that forward. But unfortunately, there's a 5-foot setback on the side, and the garage already sits at basically 0, and the back of it sits at 0. So we suggested he'd need a variance to be able to grow that building out to the front, and at the same time get the variance for the existing building that already sits in the setback. So get a side and rear variance from 5 foot down to 0, so he can basically extend the building to the front. That's what he's doing. It is grandfathered in, but you can't expand it without bringing it in compliance. So simply because the building sits there, you can't just grow the building without meeting the setback. So it would have had to jog in or be shifted over. So you need the variance to get it, basically to be able to use that 5-foot strip. And the goal is just to do a minor, I wouldn't call it minor, it's a fairly good carport, but we talked to some neighbors, no one had any objections. The garage is sitting there. In fact, the garage to the rear of him, they almost touch each other. Built into each other. And if that neighbor ever wanted to expand his garage, he'd have to come in and get a similar variance.
Is any consideration given on height variance for an RV?
In our residential districts, the height maximum is 42 feet. So they wouldn't need a variance at this point for a structure, because you can go up to 42 feet, yeah. A 2-story house, you know, or a big pitch on a roof, so we allow up to 42 feet height.
Yeah, I think it's, I don't know if there's a note on there or not, I was thinking it's about the same pitch as the garage.
It's going to be the same, yeah, it's not.
It's a full behind RV is what it is.
Yeah.
Motorhome.
Yeah, fifth wheel style.
Fifth wheel style, yeah.
Yeah, they want to be able to park it under that carport, yeah.
What's confused me is the Google Maps image.
Right.
Because the Google Maps image, and of course they don't have dates on them, it does not show that garage. So this garage, I think must have been built since the Google Maps image was
Yeah,
taken.
I have no
I
idea.
think it's under, I think it may be under the trees,
No.
That garage, both garages are very old garages.
Yeah, it's,
I can't really tell on that Google.
what the Google, yeah, the Google map, I thought the garage was back under that tree there. It's right under there, yeah,
Right north of that blacktop.
it's just,
neighbor's driveway,
there's a garage right in there,
right in there, that's what's.
yeah. It's hard to see, but it's right at where the driveway ends, there's been a garage back there.
The house coming off the road actually has a garage, coming into the butts against it.
Yeah. It's hard to see.
Back here, I can't see anything, honestly.
Yeah, there is definitely a garage right in there. You can kind of see part of it right here. It's hard to see. And again, if I would have got a better shot on the street and drove out here, you look up the driveway, you can see the garage. Yeah.
Okay, so you're satisfied, so are you satisfied that the?
I mean, this is about as basic of a variance as you're asking for. The structure's already there, no neighborhood opposition, yeah.
So are you satisfied that it existed before the ordinance?
Oh, yeah, for
Okay,
sure, yeah.
that's my
Yeah.
question.
Yeah, the garage has been there several years. We'd have to go to PVA to pull the records, but the 5-foot accessory setback even goes in the prior ordinance. Now, these garages were built years ago because it's been a long time since we ever let two people hook their garages together on the lot line. But those buildings have been back there for a long time back there. So,
Okay, just that.
yeah, he wants to do, you know, it's not a metal carport. In fact, the neighbor next door, I think, is gonna be the contractor. We talked about different ways he could get his fifth wheel in there off the other side of the building, but no, he wants something nice to match the garage, and I'm not sure if they're gonna be, what kind of legs are on it, but it's not it's gonna be a stick-built carport to match the eave and facade of his existing garage.
Any other questions? Need a motion to accept or reject?
Make a motion that Henry pick apart what I'm getting ready to say. All right, let's try this. Make a motion that we approve his request because it will not adversely affect public health, safety, or welfare. It will not alter the essential character of the general vicinity, will not cause hazard or nuisance, and will allow unreasonable circumvention of the required zoning regulations.
Just a brief addition. I would suggest that there's a hardship in the form of the existing garage and its proximity to the lot line, but by that same token, the existence of that structure in the same location, as well as design considerations promised by the applicant, suggest that it will not harm the essential character.
I was gonna say that.
Second.
I think that one.
Sure.
Let's say that the garage, storm comes through and takes the original garage down.
So once again,
Can you rebuild it?
under the non-conforming, you can put it back on the same footprint. But if you wanted to expand it or enlarge it or change it, then you gotta come into compliance with the setbacks, and then we have a 5-foot requirement. But yeah, if it's a storm, if it's an involuntary demolition, then you can put it right back on the same footprint. If it's voluntary, you have to come in compliance with the setbacks.
There can be circumstances where you have been considered to abandon the use. If it blows it down and 10 years pass, maybe not. Maybe then you have to
That's
build in
right.
the right space, but, yeah.
Yeah.
We got a motion to accept, we have a second, we've got a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? None? Motion carried.
So the only other item we have is, as I mentioned earlier, we need to do some housekeeping for our officers. Currently, we have a chair. I've got one in the file. Okay, all right. Appreciate it. Thank you. We had a member that went off the Board of Adjustments that was our vice chair. So at this point in time, we have a chairman, but not a vice chairman. We typically elect our officers in June, effective for July 1. So what we really need to do is select a vice chair to finish out the remainder of this fiscal year term. George is our chairman, George Coomer, but it would be our suggestion that you guys maybe elect a vice chair so that we have one down the road in the same circumstance that person would chair the meeting in the absence of the chairman. And we'd only do the temporary chair if both officers were absent.
I'd like to ask Mr. Sutherland if he would serve as our vice chair.
Came out of nowhere. Thank you, President.
Is that a motion? Formal motion?
I was just asking.